Hello, my tennis fans. US Open 2023 has just concluded. I mean, it's been a few days, of course, and I couldn't create a video. I wanted just to share my thoughts about what happened. We all know Djokovic won his 24th Grand Slam title and fourth US Open title. Um, is it shocking? It's not shocking, but I was a little disappointed that we could not see the Alcaraz Djokovic final that we were all looking forward to. Um, Guess what? Djokovic was there, but Alcaraz wasn't. What happened to Alcaraz? He lost to Medvedev in the semifinal. Um, why did he lose? He lost because I think Alcaraz. I mean, first of all, it shows his inexperience. Um, he was probably not game ready, in my opinion, because the last few meetings that Alcaraz met with Medvedev this year, he beat him soundly. He beat him in straight sets, and all the analysts and everybody that I was watching and also reading some comments about, they were all saying that it's a pretty bad matchup for Medvedev. Like Alcaraz is a bad matchup for Medvedev. Tennis is all about matchups, which is true. So Medvedev has heard it over and over and over again. And what happened? What did he do? I don't think he changed. Well, I mean, I'm not going to say he had a game plan, but he came to battle. He came to war. I don't think he thought he was going to win, to be honest. But he came to battle. He wanted to die on the court that day. He was not going to give in. He was going to try as hard as possible to make it a competitive match. This is in his mind. I mean, of course, he won the match, but he didn't expect that, I don't think, to be honest. And Alcaraz took it for granted. Alcaraz, if you listen to his press conference, he said, I lost my mind. In the tiebreak. The tiebreak was the first set. Medvedev was playing. Well, he didn't start off well, but he played pretty well because Alcaraz had so many break chances that he was not able to capitalize. And in the tiebreak, I think it was at 3-3, and Alcaraz said, I lost my mind. He actually paused. If you watch his press conference, he paused for a little bit. He was probably going to say something like, I didn't realize the magnitude of the match, or I didn't realize that I was playing the semifinal of a US Open. To me, it almost felt like he was still in an exhibition match kind of a mindset. And, when you have that kind of mindset, I'm not saying he did that intentionally, but he took Medvedev or that matchup for so granted that he thought there was no chance. He didn't have to do anything. I mean, Medvedev obviously had weaknesses in his game. Like if he's going to stand 15 feet behind the baseline, a player like Alcaraz, who's quick, who's fast, who's got all the shots in the world with volleys, serve and volley, serve wide and volley, so he thought, and his shots and everything. So he thought, yeah, Medvedev, I mean, what kind of game plan? Unless he moved forward closer to the baseline, Alcaraz thought Medvedev had no chance. But what happened was Medvedev basically just was hitting the ball so hard. He didn't care whether the ball was going in or hitting the net or going out. He didn't care. All his game plan was to hit the ball as hard as possible. And luckily for him, I'm not going to say luck because, that does not give enough credit to the player that won. But luck did play a role somewhat because all his return shots were pretty hard volleys for Alcaraz. Either they were too low or coming at his Alcaraz's feet so fast that he didn't have time to react. Or, if it's not just the speed, it's about where the volley is. I mean, if you have to volley at your feet, with a ball that's like 100 plus miles an hour, it's not easy to volley that ball. So that's what happened, in that match, especially in that first set and later on also in the second set. So that's basically my take. Alcaraz was not mentally prepared for the match. He took his opponent lightly and for granted, which is a learning experience for him. I mean, he's going to hopefully learn from this experience, because we could have seen a much better US Open 2023 final if it was Alcaraz and Djokovic, because everybody was hoping to see that matchup again at a Grand Slam level. Congratulations to Medvedev for being able to beat Alcaraz. I can see he was so happy. I'm sure he was. But he had to replicate the same level of intensity and mindset against Djokovic in the final. Was he able to do it? He was not. Medvedev played one of the best matches of his life in the 2021 US Open final and 2023 semifinal against Alcaraz. It's hard for someone, whether it's unless you're a consistent top player, and which Medvedev is, but unless you're like a Rafa Nadal, Roger Federer, Novak, or someone like that, or even Alcaraz, I'm going to put him in that category, even though he didn't win as many Grand Slams, but he's a young player. Unless you are a player like that, it's hard to expect that level of intensity that Medvedev displayed and mindset in consecutive matches, whether it's a Grand Slam or just a Masters tournament. It's very hard. And Medvedev, he's capable of beating everybody else, but not some of these top players, especially the top players like Rafa or Novak or Alcaraz. Some of these players, at a major event, he can't do that. And he was not able to do that this time. How did Djokovic win? Well, is it surprising? Maybe a little bit. Djokovic is not in his prime, but I can't. It's almost unfathomable for me to see that a player. Well, I know Novak is the record holder in men's Grand Slam singles in tennis, but as great as Novak is, it's hard for me to believe that somebody was able to win 7 Grand Slam titles in the last 3 years at age 34, 35, 36. It's last year in 2022, he was not allowed to play Australian Open and US Open, but he won Wimbledon. French, he lost to Rafa Nadal, who eventually won the Grand Slam title last year. But it's just unheard of. I mean, I never thought in 2023 Djokovic would be able to win 3 Grand Slam titles. Am I shocked? I'm not shocked, but I'm surprised. I thought, what happened in French Open? Australian Open, Alcaraz was injured. And if you look at the draw, he had a pretty easy draw in Australian Open too. Now, Tommy Paul, all these guys, he played Tommy Paul, Kachanov, some of these guys in the semifinals and quarterfinals. I never thought they had a chance. So if you look at his draw, he had pretty easy draws. His Wimbledon draw was okay, in my opinion, because Medvedev was on Alcaraz's side, Sinner was on his side. Sinner took him to 5 sets last year in 2022, so I thought that was a pretty good matchup. Alcaraz, for some reason, he gets the toughest draws, at least that on paper, it seems like he gets the tougher draws. Djokovic has been lucky that Rafa is injured. Roger retired, of course. Roger was older anyway. But the bar is so high. Novak has to thank, I'm sure he is, and he feels this way as well. He has to thank Roger and Rafa for setting the bar so high for him. Roger, of course, and then Rafa setting the bar so high that in order to beat them and surpass them, he had to take his game to the next level. So the bar is so high in men's tennis right now, especially even though Novak is not in his prime. For these younger players, the bar is so high that Novak really doesn't have to, game plan wise and game wise, he still has all the shots, and none of the other guys, other than Alcaraz, I think, have tools to disrupt Novak's rhythm. people say, oh, Novak is a great mover and he's still fit, like 26, 36 is the new 26 and stuff like that. But believe me, if you have the tools to, uh, like Alcaraz does, if you have like two or three Alcarazes, which is kind of, I think, being over ambitious there. But if you have players like that who can make him work harder on the court, I think they have a chance of beating him. And Novak, I don't think can compete at that. Well, he can still compete, but I don't think he can play a player like Alcaraz and let's say a player like Runa, for example. I'm just throwing his name out there, but I don't think Runa is close to Alcaraz's level. He cannot play two players like that consecutively in a Grand Slam. There's no way. So he is a little lucky. With his draws, first of all, and also that the bar is so high for Novak and some of the big three players that these younger guys are not there. Tennis wise, they're not there. You can't be a one trick pony versus Novak Djokovic, which Medvedev is. I mean, all he does is serve well. If he has an off game in off service games, he's not gonna, or an off day with serves, he's not gonna be able to beat Novak Djokovic. The reason why I called him one trick pony is because Medvedev is consistent baseline player. He stands way too far, and he's so stubborn. He accepted in the post match press conference after losing to Djokovic that, yeah, I shouldn't have been more stubborn. Come on, man. I mean, you can't. He doesn't have a game plan against anybody. Against Alcaraz, he won because Alcaraz took him for granted. He was not ready, and he's a young guy. He doesn't have that experience, even though he won two Grand Slams. So Medvedev is a one-trick pony. He's not. I don't see now. I was telling my family that if Medvedev doesn't capitalize on this opportunity to win another U.S. Open title, he's probably not going to win another major title. And even after Novak retires, I don't see Medvedev winning another major title as long as. These young guys have to catch up, of course. You can't always rely on Alcaraz is not going to win all four majors every year. That's not possible because injuries can happen. He can lose. If somebody has the best game of his life against Alcaraz, he's probably going to lose, especially if he's not logged in. I'm not going to say Alcaraz is going to win everything after Djokovic retires, but Medvedev, I think Tsitsipas, Medvedev, Zverev probably has a chance if he keeps up his level of play as well as fitness. I think Zverev is still young enough. He's about 26, 27, I think, and he's probably going to win a slam, definitely in my opinion. But Medvedev, I think that was his best chance unless he changes. He goes back to the blackboard and comes back with a great strategy or not changes his coach, but if he does something, he has to change his game plan against players. He cannot just think, oh, I'm this consistent baseline player and I can win. He can against most players, but he's not going to win against Alcaraz. He's not going to win against some of these, maybe even Zverev, even though he has a good head-to-head record against Zverev. With Djokovic, he was never going to be able to beat Djokovic like that unless Djokovic really got tired or crammed or something like that. Djokovic is a better version of Medvedev. I know that's like insulting Djokovic in a way, but I think Djokovic, his game's boring, if you ask me. Roger Federer was an aggressive player. He had so much finesse and movement in the court, like it was like flowing, right? So it was fun to watch. Rafa Nadal brings a lot of intensity, his huge forehands. He's a baseline. Rafa has actually more. I think he has more talent than Djokovic in my mind, but he's not like a servant volley player. He is a very good volleyer, but that's not his game. So Rafa and Djokovic, there were so many matches. Some of these are historical matches that I watched. But if you watch the game, they're basically trying. These are both consistent baseline players. They hit the ball hard, and whoever like 30, 40 shots, rallies, and whoever finally comes up with like a winner. I mean, this is strategy, right? In the game, for to win 1 point, you have to come up with a game plan just to win that point. But it was mainly baseline slogging, if you ask me, and both were extremely good, but it was boring to watch. That's why Alcaraz's game is like a breath of fresh air because he can play. He's not a grinder. Alcaraz is still young. He has so many shots that he doesn't want to grind like Nadal or Djokovic or Medvedev. He wants to go for a winner. He wants to change up something after 10, 15, 20 shots, just like Federer. So it's boring game to watch, and the final, trust me, it was so boring against Medvedev and Djokovic. They made the second set a little more interesting because they were both tired, but it's baseline rallies, man. I mean, it's just so boring. That's just my take. I don't want to make this video too long, but what's in store for Djokovic and Alcaraz in 2024? I'm not going to bet against Djokovic anymore. I have to see someone step up and beat him at a Grand Slam on a consistent basis. And hopefully in 2024, we'll be able to see a better version of Alcaraz. Somebody who doesn't cramp up, somebody who is more logged in, somebody who understands the magnitude of the occasion. And he obviously is going to be more mature, hopefully, in next year. He has to, I think, Juan Carlos, and another thing, I think I heard other analysts saying that, okay, the Spanish way of coaching is basically just, chit-chatting or trying to coach at every single point or after every point, every game. I don't think that's good in the long run for Alcaraz. I felt like I have not seen this before. I've seen it this year. I don't remember seeing it in Wimbledon, but I saw that a lot in Cincinnati and US Open. I think Juan Carlos Ferrero, as good as a player as he was and as good as a coach as he is, I think he is slightly, I think ego is coming into the picture here. I think he is, it's like Phil Jackson and let's say LeBron James, right? I mean, I don't think they were teamed together, but what I'm saying is like Carmelo Anthony and Phil Jackson. It's just a clash of egos. Phil obviously had, he was the best coach, in history because he won 11 titles. So, but Carmelo Anthony, he was one of the best players in the league at that time. And he thought, okay, you won 11 championships, but you didn't win that as a player. You're a coach, and you had Michael Jordan and Kobe and Shaq and all these guys, and that's why you won. So I think there was some ego clash there. That's why it didn't work out. Similarly, I'm thinking Juan Carlos Ferrero, he's a Grand Slam champion, and he is the coach of one of the best young players, hopefully a legend in the making. And I think there is Carlos is still, he's very, he understands, he's a very humble guy by nature. And he absorbs a lot. I think he's still like a sponge. But I think as you're getting older, he is now a Grand Slam champion too. He's won 2 Grand Slams. You don't want to coach him after every point. You don't want to give him tips. I understand, unless he's asking for it. If he's asking for it, yes, you tell him. But then after the game, you tell him, hey, you know what? We have to strategize before the game and we'll help you during the match. But you have to, too much, the chatter, too much talking back and forth, I think is disrupting Alcaraz's rhythm. Maybe he's getting confused. He's like, okay, should I do this, which is my natural instinct, or should I listen to the coach? And because sometimes strategy doesn't work. You have to, if your whole goal is to execute the game plan every time, you're not going to be the best, because some things have to happen naturally. It's just an instinct. I think Alcaraz has that instinct. That's why in the post-match press conference, I was listening to him intently, and he said something like, I thought I'm a good problem solver in situations, but I have to mature more because I didn't do that. I think part of that is probably because of the doubts that the coach created. I'm just guessing here. But I think that's what happened. But anyway, I'm looking forward to the 2024 season. I hope Alcaraz remains healthy and Djokovic remains healthy. We have to see how the 2024 season goes. I don't expect Djokovic to be or play at a higher level for 3-4 years like others are predicting. I think he'll probably be next year will be a good telling story. If Djokovic, this is my guess. If I were to guess today, I'm going to say Djokovic will probably win one Grand Slam title next year. If he wins more than one, man, hats off to him. He's already the best player. He's already the greatest of all time. It's debatable, but still, with respect to the number of Grand Slam titles that he won, he is the greatest player of all time. And I hope Alcaraz plays better. I hope Ben Shelton can somehow learn and pick up his level. He has all the tools too. I mean, not like Alcaraz, but he is quick. He's got a big serve. He's got benefits. He's got a height advantage. I think Ben Shelton has a good shot. If he puts his mind to it, I think he can get to top 5 level, and that'll be interesting to watch. But I think he has a lot more learning to do. So hopefully 2024 will be a good season for Carlos Alcaraz. And we'll see some great matches next year. All right, guys. Talk to you later.